Hello everyone, today we're diving into the best and arguably the most important creatures you'll encounter on the island map. Kicking off our list at number 10 is none other than the humble Anky. Now at first glance, the Anky may not seem all that flashy. It doesn't breathe fire, it's slow as molasses, and most likely will not win any major fights. But make no mistake, this sturdy little powerhouse is essential to your success on almost every single map. In the mid to late game, upgrades rely heavily on metal, and when it comes to harvesting metal on land, no creature on the island does it better than the Anky. And it doesn't stop there. Anky are super versatile. They gather berries at a decent rate, and they're absolute beasts when it comes to collecting flint. If you're wondering why that matters, remember flint turns into spark powder, which you'll then need to make ammo, lighting up your torches and forges, and preserving your precious food in a preserving bin. Then, not to mention that spark powder is critical for making jerky, which is a valuable ingredient in high-end kibble recipes, which is used to tame even more powerful creatures. In short, while the Anky may not be all that glamorous, it's absolutely vital to your success. Alright, now coming in at number 9 is the Basilosaurus. Simply put, the Basilosaurus is arguably the best aquatic creature that you can tame. It boasts an enormous health pool, a hefty stamina stat, and a very respectable weight capacity. Then when it comes to surviving Ark's treacherous oceans, the Basilosaurus isn't just good, it's practically perfect. It's immune to the stuns and the paralyzing effect of eels and jellyfish. It's also immune to the crushing embrace of the Tuso tentacles. So the moment you saddle up your Basilosaurus, you'll notice something wonderful. That ever-present feeling of dread when entering the ocean, it's just gone. Well, mostly. Don't get cocky. It is still Ark. You probably will die. Now there are a few other things you should know. The Basilosaurus will slowly take damage once it dives below a certain depth, but with its massive health pool, you'll barely even notice it. And to make things even better, when you bring your Basilosaurus back to the surface, it regenerates health at an accelerated rate. Then the Basilosaurus also makes clearing the islands to underwater caves significantly easier due to everything I just mentioned previously, which is a task that would otherwise prove to be far more difficult with any other creature. Oh, and another sweet perk is that while riding a Basilosaurus, players benefit from both hyperthermic and hypothermic insulation, so your body temperature stays regulated no matter how frigid the water temperature gets. Now lastly is oil. Basilosaurus can passively generate a special oil in their inventory, but it does expire and it tends to cap out fast, requiring you to manually pull it all out before it will produce any more, which is just not fun. Now if you're the type of player who is shameless or open to questioning farming methods or just want to be efficient, then get a breeding pair of Basilosaurus, let them grow up, unclaim them, and then dispatch them with a bleed capable creature, or simply just swim around the island killing every single Basilosaurus you see. The Basilosaurus bodies yield absurd quantities of oil, enough to make you question why you ever bothered with any oil nodes in the first place. Now next up, coming at number 8 is going to be the Baryonyx. The Bary is a phenomenal choice for a variety of different reasons. First, you can wield your weapon while mounted, making an ideal companion for taming other creatures. Then when it comes to traversal, the Baryonyx shines both on land and in water. Thanks to having no oxygen stat, it's an excellent explorer for pretty much all of your aquatic adventures. And while underwater, it can unleash a stunning tail spin attack, making it easier to manage aggressive creature packs and even hold its own against other stronger creatures. Then better yet, you can combine that underwater stun ability and the use of weapons while mounted to make taming in the water an absolute breeze. Now headed back to land, the Baryonyx can also jump and is small enough to fit into most of the island's caves. And truth be told, on the island, the Bary is the ultimate caving creature and makes most of them trivial. If you're using anything else, you're just making it more difficult for yourself. The Bary is basically the best creature for more than half the caves on the map. Now sliding into the number 7 spot, we have the humble yet mighty Otter. Widely regarded as the best shoulder pet in the game, the Otter brings an impressive set of skills to the table. Not only can it carry artifacts, which is an achievement in itself, but it can actually carry multiple copies of the same artifact, a feat even players can't pull off. Then otters can also go fishing for you, actively seeking out fish and devouring them with great enthusiasm. Then after a successful snack session, there's a chance they'll reward you with either silica pearls or potentially even the elusive black pearls. Then on top of that, otters provide phenomenal insulation, both hyperthermic and hypothermic. With an otter riding on your shoulder, you'll find that extreme heat and cold are barely a concern, no matter what armor you're actually wearing. Also, by placing a few otters in a small enclosed space, they can even assist with hatching eggs. Just remember, the more you pump up their melee stat, the more insulation they provide. Next up, coming at number 6 is the Thyla. The Thylacoleo is one of Ark's most versatile creatures, capable of dominating in both PvE and PvP. With a perfect blend of mobility and damage output, they are a true force. Not only do they have great base speed and stamina, but they also have the ability to climb vertical surfaces. Also, due to a bug that's been in the game for a significant amount of time now, you can chain together its jumps to progressively get faster and faster, allowing you to whip around the island at absolutely incredible speeds. But then what also really sets the Thyla apart in combat is its powerful bleed effect, which deals percentage-based damage over time. This makes it extremely useful against high health targets like alpha creatures, gigas, and even titanosaurs, since these enemies usually rely on their massive health pool in order to have an advantage. And the Thyla's bleed pretty much ignores the usual slog of having to chip damage away on these large health pool targets, as it will melt their health rapidly, allowing you to take down any of these larger creatures in a much faster time. Then lastly, Thylas are also one of the few medium-sized mounts that can assist with caving. They can't enter every cave save, but they can certainly help with some. Alright, now at this point in time, we're halfway through the list, so if you are enjoying the video, then please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Honestly, I would really appreciate it. These videos do take some time to write out the script, go through and test things out, and just make sure everything looks as good as it can get. So yeah, please hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. Alright, now let's move on to number 5, which is the Therizino, or as many of us first knew it, the deceptively friendly angry chicken. The theory is frequently part of a discussion when it comes to the best boss fighting creatures in the game, and for good reason. Its exceptionally fast attack speed allows it to inflict more cumulative damage over time compared to most other creatures. Additionally, as an herbivore, it excels in the dragon boss fight as it takes less damage than carnivores, giving it a distinct advantage in one of the game's most challenging encounters. However, the pros to using a Therizino extend far beyond boss battles. It's an incredibly versatile creature in general. Not only can it gather the standard resources typical of herbivores such as berries, wood, fiber, and thatch, but it can also harvest materials like organic polymer, chitin, and even meat in an efficient capacity. The theory can also allocate additional level points directly into its harvesting skills, further amplifying its resource gathering capabilities. It's truly one of the most indispensable and multifunctional creatures that you can tame. Alright, now coming at number 4 is the Deinosuchus. The fracture debuff they apply to targets after using the Gigabyte is insanely powerful, and if I'm being honest, I think it makes them the very best boss fighting creature in the entire game, at least when it comes to overall DPS. Also, leveling up for boss fights can be somewhat challenging. However, the Deinosuchus is also capable of taking on Gigas and Titanosaurs and even Alphas, meaning instead of being stuck with just raising babies for experience, they also have other abilities to gain large amounts of experience all at once. And this is all due to how the fracture debuff works. It acts much like a bleed ability and it inflicts damage whenever the inflicted target moves. Now, the one downside is that they are somewhat slow on land, but again, they are extremely powerful, and so realistically, there's not many creatures on the land that pose a threat to a Deinosuchus. Then in the water, they're quite quick as well, and they can easily navigate the treacherous oceans and also deal with most creatures it encounters. And even better yet, unlike other large creatures like the Rex or the Mosa, it can maneuver quite well. They can turn in place, allowing you to easily counter threats from any direction, and then their tail swipe lets you knock creatures backwards, which is extremely effective against smaller creatures, especially when you're surrounded, to give you distance to breathe and basically just negate a lot of the damage you would typically take with any other creature. Then what's absolutely insane is with a creature this powerful, you can also use your weapon while mounted, meaning your creature can deal with every single creature in a vicinity, and then when it comes time to taming, you can simply just whip out your weapon, stay on your creature to avoid danger, and literally just let it face tank most creatures while you knock it out from the back of your creature. And that's just insane. Then lastly, as an added bonus, they can actually tank a lot of attacks because their head takes 50% reduced damage. So as long as you are getting attacked from a target head on, make sure they hit you just in the head, and they're going to be doing half the usual damage they would to any other creature. Then also in PvP, they do also take reduced damage from the majority of weapons. Alright, now coming at number 3 is the Deinotherium, who is also extremely versatile, similar to the Therizino, but in different regards. First, their frontal stomp attack is capable of breaking through most creatures' natural armor. Then their tusk attack enables them to harvest corpses like a carnivore, as well as gather large quantities of wood. And they also get a 75% weight reduction on that wood. They also possess a rally call ability that buffs nearby allies whenever used. When used by a male, it grants plus 15% bonus to melee damage and improves stamina regeneration. And it also triggers a taunt effect that mimics a rare flower, forcing enemy creatures to target the male Deinotherium. Then alternatively, when a female uses its rally call, it grants a plus 5% defense bonus, which can stack up to 3 times, so these abilities just make Deinotheriums outstanding support units for boss fights and events like orbital supply drops. Additionally, Deinotheriums receive a pack bonus beginning with just 2 members and increasing up to 5. Each level of the pack bonus adds plus 5% melee damage and 5% damage resistance, up to a maximum of 20% in each category. Also, they deal 15% additional damage to carnivores, so what I'm telling you is they just get more and more and more damage. So not only are they great support units, but they also have incredible damage in general, just built into their actual kit. Then outside of combat, Deinotheriums can also be force-fed stimberries, which will generate a large amount of feces, similar to that of a Phiomia, which will help with fertilizer production. Then lastly, they can also harvest berries and thatch. Now coming at second place is the Yutyrannus, or the Yuti. They're typically known for being the best boss support creature and can even be partnered now with the Deinotheriums in boss fights to truly amplify that support to the next level. Now what makes them special in boss fights is their Courage Roar, which boosts the attack of nearby allied creatures by 25%, while also reducing the damage they take by 20%. Then they also have a Fear Roar outside of boss battles, which inflicts several effects on enemy creatures. First up, it forces most small and medium creatures to flee, and increases the damage those creatures take by up to 50%, and reduces the damage they deal by 30%. Also, the Fear Roar has the ability to make creatures like Perlovias unbury themselves saving you a nasty surprise. Then since the Furor makes targets take more damage, it actually means they're easier to tame, as it will take you less resources to knock out a creature as you're actually going to be doing more damage. Also, when using the Furor, if you cause that creature to be completely feared, it will then force them to defecate, which provides you with some easy feces for your crops. Then Yutyrannus also are very special in the fact that their eggs are one of the few eggs in the game that are used to make extraordinary kibble, which is the highest tier kibble in the game. Now lastly, if you ever want to control the mind of other creatures, know that the Yuty can also do that. Use the Courage Roar with nearby wild Carnos, and eventually they will join your side and fight for you for the next 60 seconds. Now lastly, coming at number 1 is the RG. And I know what some of you might be thinking, isn't the Rhino superior in nearly every single way? And while it's true that the Rhino matches and in some cases surpasses the RG in capability, it is simply just not as accessible and it can't be bred. Also, the RG can be obtained significantly earlier in the game and its taming process is far more straightforward. In fact, my personal RG trap requires only 4 simple pieces: 1 pillar, 1 double door frame, 1 hidden door frame, and 1 ramp. Lure the RG in, close the trapdoor behind it, and you have a clean, easy tame. Then beyond ease of access, the RG brings an impressive suite of advantages. It passively reduces the weight of many critical resources, and it can also pick up and carry a wide range of creatures, both for transport and for assisting with taming, including small creatures like otters in its beak. Then other utility includes its built-in smithy functionality in its saddle, allowing you to craft important items such as ammo directly from its inventory. Then when it comes to combat, the RG holds its own with a respectable melee stat and excels in prolonged engagements due to its large stamina pool. Even better, it possesses a unique healing ability, where by consuming corpses, it can trigger rapid health regeneration over 20 seconds, while also restoring a portion of its stamina, allowing for extended flight and endurance in battle. Then in PvE scenarios, RG shines against threats like Alpharaptors and Rexes. When fighting an Alpharaptor, its ability to hover just out of reach allows it to claw at the enemy without taking too much damage in return. And then its superior maneuverability allows it to outposition even Alpha Rexes with relative ease. Then when it comes to resource runs, few creatures compare. With its large stamina pool, its weight reductions, and harvesting synergies such as carrying a Dodic or an Anky to automatically harvest stone or metal mid-flight, the RG can make massive cross-map trips without ever needing to land, which also minimizes the risk to your valuable harvesters. Finally, in PvP, the RG also remains a threat as it can pull enemy players off their mounts. All in all, the RG is just one of the best creatures in the game, probably one of my top 3 favorite creatures in the game, and it simply just makes everything you do easier. Well, now that you know what the best creatures on the island map are, you might also want to know what the best base locations are. And to see those, make sure you check out this video here.